everybody. Today I've been waiting to make this video. Basically things to look out for. Almost a buyer's guide for the Fiat. And how's it doing? Like an update. How's the car doing mechanically, electronically? How's it been reliability wise? So I want to start with how's the interior been holding up? So far, pretty well, sort of. So, this window switch broken, one side, so it works, but as you'll see in a minute, it's kind of hard to use. This armrest, yeah, I'm gonna talk about this later in this video. It doesn't look very good, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So far, not too many problems. If I start it up, it's gonna be fine. So, it runs well, which is nice. And as you see, no check engine lights on the dashboard. Of course, every time I get in here, I have to push the sport button. Almost mandatory. And 50,644 miles, and there's no lights on the dashboard. Now, if I go to my average fuel, go to the average fuel economy, see range, a little over quarter tank, 100 miles left. Still pretty impressive. I've been resetting this a lot for gas mileage reasons. Ooh, 21.4 miles per gallon. Not very good. Still don't know why. Maybe it's because of how my mom drives this car. It's her car, and she drives it majority of the time, and I don't think... She drives it around town a lot, and that'll explain the poor gas mileage. Instant economy is almost useless. I mean, it'll just display 0 when your foot's not on the throttle, and when you put your foot on the throttle, it'll show 5 miles per gallon. Like nothing in between. It's almost useless. Nothing in there. Average speed for the past 30 miles around 14 miles an hour. Is it funny? Not travel time. And it's nice. It runs well. It did have a misfire at one point, or it seemed like it. Check engine light came on for around 8 hours, and 8 to 9 hours the next morning. Started up, it was just fine, but we took it to AutoZone the day it had the problem. P0300. And now it's gone, and it's actually, it's been running just fine. As you heard in my exhaust clip and intake clip from the beginning, it was running just fine. Recently, the exhaust started to sound like it had a resonator delete. It was really throaty that one day, and it hasn't happened since. Exhaust on this car sounds pretty good. Not gonna lie. This car is full of character. Totally full of character. Sport mode doesn't do anything for exhaust. It does absolutely nothing. It just makes the steering heavier. It makes the throttle more sensitive, but it literally does nothing else. So we just keep it on. Interior stuff, holding up pretty well. Nothing has completely fallen off yet, except for this. This thing actually did fall off, and I'll get to this now. So what happened was, my mom had to get some out of the back, and I guess she was kind of in a hurry, so she leaned over on it like this, and I guess put enough pressure on it, and the whole thing just fell off, or broke. And then a couple days later, it fell off. So if I show right here, yeah, it didn't go very well when we glued it back together. So what my dad did was glue the top armrest, glued this whole bottom part here, and then took a plastic piece from another, I guess, piece from somewhere we had lying around, put it in here and screwed it. See the screw and a screw. Now it's held in. Now at this point we could probably just remove this tape. But we're just going to keep it on for now until the tape just falls itself off. So it actually holds up pretty well. Probably better than it originally did. So that's nice. New one of these, $50 to $80. I know. Complete ripoff. But it's... I don't know how to explain it. It's just disappointing that this would break in such a period of time. 7 years. That I was disappointed with. Very disappointed by that. It was fine when I did the review. It was perfectly holding and fine, and then like a week later the whole thing just fell apart. So something to be to watch out of, to be careful of. Another thing to be careful of is make sure your steering cowel isn't loose like ours is. This might cause some issues down the road. If I could. Yeah, the screws down here. They don't really tighten this. Or I don't think they do. So this stuff just wiggles. Another thing to look out for is the key. You're supposed to push the FIAT button and move it, but it just does this, which is scary because it may or may not stall out the engine and turn the key off. That's a little concerning, but it's been this entire car's just been holding up pretty well. The door panel, nothing has fell off yet. This feels really nice, actually. That feels really good. Nice and solid. There wasn't too many things in this car that felt like they were gonna break. I'm gonna explain this, not really, but kind of go through what this is. This is the door check strap, and well, it kind of broke, or wore down, I should say. If I move it. Of course, not doing it now. There we go. Yeah. So what happens? Make sure the windows are down here. Oh, by the way, this is how you put the window back up. You have to hold it in a spot, or else the window won't go up. Very annoying, but the problem is when it's windy outside, or when you're on a slight hill and you go just tap the door. Sometimes, well, of course it's not doing it now. Other times you just give it a little tap, it'll just not this slowly. Typically does it really quickly, and things may or may not happen. I mean, this is a safety issue, clearly. It happened on both sides, actually. This side's not as loose, but it'll still, I had to move out of the way, and it just closes itself shut, and I won't understand why it does this. So, shot up there. I don't know why it's so sooty, and I don't know what that stuff is. Some interesting things on this car. Very interesting things. I'm off the hood, and I'm going to show you guys the engine bay. Okay, so, see, the engine bay looks all nice and clean, because I cleaned this up with some nice shine on it. Now it's all nice and clean. So is this gutter here. And over here, the fuse box, all nice and clean out over here. Even underneath the engine cover, that may or may not cause the engine to maybe burn itself. If I take that off, there's the inner workings of a FIAT engine. Look at that. masterpiece. So it runs pretty well, actually. Going fine. All the fluids are fine. It also has the tiniest prop rod known to man. It's like really small, and this clip here is known to break. Ours is not broke yet, so that's good to know. Now this leather thing has been holding up pretty well, actually. Has definitely protected the hood from rock chips. It even has cutouts right here for the lights. You know, this trim piece here hasn't fell out, none of this has broke. It's all been rock solid, just fine. The FIAT logo hasn't bubbled. Just this part has been the front has been holding on really well. Engine transmission, really good. And if I just put this little cover back on. So this is how you get it on. Go like this, till it kind of fits this cutout here. You push, 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 push. When I get home, I'm gonna take this off. When it becomes like hot outside, like it is now, we typically take this off. It does help. And then this is what I meant when I said this is the tiniest prop rod. Knowing a man, watch how I take this off. Look at this thing. Look. It is so tiny, I tell you. And then if I grab the phone, which I'm filming this on Galaxy S21 5G, and just give it a push. Held down just fine. Wheel covers are doing pretty good too. You know, there's one part down here where it gets a little loose, but I typically just push it back in with my finger and it's just fine. Suspension pretty good, hasn't fell apart yet. Look, mechanically it's fine, electronically it's decent, and interior wise it's okay. So in the cargo area you can actually fit quite a bit back here. And let me explain this. We have some stuff back here, so you can actually fit quite a bit. But let me explain this. So you saw my review when I brought this up. I wanted to glue this in because it broke. See right here on this crack line, where it broke. We glued it along that edge, and then we put a strip of cardboard here. One person on the FIAT forums did do this and say this was smart, and we did it, and it holds it just fine. So that's pretty nice. These headrests, they're still almost uncomfortable as ever, and this one is still hard to pull up. Oh god, now this one's getting hard to pull up. A few complaints I've heard is when you close this, when you close the boot, the headrest will hit the window. I don't know what they're talking about because, yeah, there's room between there. I think it's just something to do with what batch of car you have. The car's a little dirty, but I want to show it real world. I haven't cleaned it just yet. Just cleaned it 2 weeks ago. This paint just looks really good, whether it's clean or dirty. It's a nice paint. This is granite crystal metallic, and well, it looks really nice. This is the 500 pop, by the way, 2015, 14. Sometimes I gotta get used to that. And down here is kind of, you know, information on the cars. This is Chrysler Group LLC, so this was the 2014 car. FCA was a thing in 2014, and somehow, I guess our car may have been built in late 2013, because it says Chrysler Group LLC. If I find the date, 11/13. If I am right, That is November 2013. And, well, here's the paint code, if you're wondering. PAU, that is for Granite Crystal Metallic. Kind of the weight ratings or whatever. Yeah, I believe that's what it is. So, and then over here, the door opens itself. See, the vehicle may include mercury after devices installed by the manufacturer. So this car doesn't have any of those things, which is unfortunate. I thought this car had HD headlights, and it doesn't. A little disappointing. If you're wondering, spare, none. Yeah, it's because this car doesn't have a spare tire. Spare tire is $450, I think it was brand new. Now it's like a $250 kit. Still very expensive, considering you could just get a Steely in a tire for like $150 at most, like $50 for the Steely and $100 for the tire. So I think maybe they're kind of ripping you off a little. $450 brand new was a large pill to swallow. Not many people took that because it was just so expensive. We're gonna get it done with this car eventually. Steering wheel. This has worn down a lot. This is not leather. A lot of people thought it's leather because it has this stitching and it feels like leather. This is urethane. This is the urethane steering wheel. If you want leather, that was on the 500 Sport, Lounge, Turbo, and Abarth. Those had the leather wrapped wheel. This is a urethane wheel. Leather wheel was not an option unless you went for the Sport Appearance package, which was available 2015 and up. They also made some easy model, which was really weird, and I'm going to get into trim levels in a little bit. Also, one thing, if I go out of sport mode and I could turn the wheel with one finger. Look at this. Absolutely incredible. That happens too. But I could turn the wheel with one finger. It's incredible. It's super light. It makes it super easy to drive. You just go, oh, you're in a parking space. Super easy. Sport button, which I prefer, makes it a little heavier. So you can't really turn it as easily, but it helps so much in the corners. It makes the car feel a lot better. Just compensate for the huge body roll this car has. Surprisingly, a good body roll. If I turn on the lights here, the flickering on the dashboard is just from my phone. Like I said, I'm filming this on an S21 5G on 1080p automatic frame rate. So it's switching from 30 FPS then 60 FPS. And you may or may not notice that in the video. This camera does pretty well. But back to the lights here. It's no automatic lights. Very annoying. High beams. I don't know if you could hear that. Let me see if I can get a little closer, because it's loud. Yeah, they're very loud high beams. Also, you can't turn on the brights unless headlights are on. So then you turn the switch and you can put it in. And I don't get it. Also, turn signal's out, and it causes the general triangle light to turn on. So same when you turn on the hazards too, and that ticking gets very annoying. I know it's flashing super quickly in the video, but it's actually not flashing this quickly in real time. Oh, and then this side flashes slow, and this side flashes really quickly, so yeah, we'll get that fixed eventually. Defrost, I don't even know why it's there. I mean, it does pretty well, but they put it amongst the 3 primary switches. I would have preferred it there if they put maybe the AC switch over here. Runs pretty well. The blower is really solid too. Let's take a listen to this. Right over here. Pushing for AC. Really solid blower. So that hasn't had to get done yet. No AC recharge necessary. This automatic does pretty well, so. Like I said before, no backup camera. And manual works well. No, not too bad. Manual mode works well. It's just a little slow to shift. I would definitely take the if you're gonna buy this car, I'd take the manual any day. It's just better. It shaves about a second off the 0 to 60 time and improves fuel economy quite a bit. 2 pedals. Well, not 3, so the manual cars have a 3rd pedal, obviously. Which are known to have a really weird clutch engagement. So it's like glued to the floor. You hold up and eventually it'll engage because it feels like it's stuck down there so long. It has a really weird engagement. The automatic's fine. Brake pedal's good. No complaints with that. It's not too touchy. There's the underside down here. Some fuses and some of these wires go to this thing, which I don't know what this is. It's some alarm system. I saw a removal video of it. A lot of dealerships in Southern California put this on the car. Guess where this car was last sold? Southern California. At a dealership. So a lot of Fiat dealers and other dealers in general put this on Chrysler cars specifically, and I don't understand why. Also, we're also going to get a second key soon. Keys for this car are expensive. Like $60 for the key and then $200 for programming. It's absolutely insane. I know in Europe they give you a tiny little key. One that's really tiny, it's just cut. And you could use it to even start the car. So it would have been nice if they gave us that option. But they didn't, so we have to go pay for the big remote. But that's fine, because we get a new blade that's actually quite nice. No, this blade isn't too good. If I just turn the car off for a minute, and I show you the key. This top surround is known to just come off. It's really easy to take these on and off, paint them. Fiat sells third parties, which is quite nice. Now I'm going to go over some of the maintenance items that kind of have to be done in this car every once in a while. So I will first start off with the door handles. Now these things often will break every once in a while, and when they do, they are insanely expensive. Same with the boot handle, they break all the time. I don't know what it is. It should be a recall at this point. Hasn't happened yet, but it's getting there. Sometimes you push the button and it doesn't do anything. And also, one thing that's really annoying is with the button on the key, if let's say I close the door. Let me just close the door real quick. I'll just let it close on its own. And I lock the car. And you could lock it with the key too, so do the hole. And so when you unlock the boot with this button right here, trunk right there, click it, it flashes the lights quickly to tell you that it's the boot that's being unlocked. And one thing that's really annoying is when you open this, alright, and then you close it, it locks itself. And of course, when you unlock the boot, it doesn't do anything to the door. It's still locked. So one thing that can happen, and this actually did happen once, my mom took the key, tossed it in the back seat. The windows were up, and you can guess what happened. Lock the keys out. So this is something really annoying. I don't understand. I should just keep this unlocked. It's convenient because you just push one button, put the key in your pocket, and it'll lock itself when you close it. But it's not too good. Especially when your car doesn't come with a second key. It's really annoying. And then because this is electronic, one thing that happens, and there's no override to get to it, and it's very annoying, is when the battery goes flat, typically this doesn't open. So what you have to do when your battery's dead, and if you have jumper cables in the car, it's really annoying. You have to go like this, then you have to climb in back and pull this down to grab your jumper cables. It is seriously one of the worst designs. Like, they should make it mechanical. And, like, you know, this is mechanical-ish. It's half mechanical. So, when I lock with this, like, I would expect that if I unlock the car manually with the key and the battery is dead, and I unlock it like this, that it would unlock this too. And it doesn't. Because the problem with electronics, it's very annoying. Make sure that's off. So, one thing that happens too is when the battery is dead, you can still get in somehow. There's like enough power to unlock the doors. Maybe not with the key. And one thing that really is annoying is if you unplug, let's say, the negative terminal, or you get a new battery, and you have to put it in the car, you can't get in with the remote, obviously. So what you do is you would just go up, put it in, and turn it to unlock. There's a problem with that. You would turn it to unlock, and the door locks would stay locked, and it prevents you from getting in the car. So it's sort of mechanical, but when the battery is removed, or one of the terminals is disconnected, you can't get in the car because this is still power. Which doesn't make any sense, because if you look right here, clearly as I turn the key, it unlocks and locks because it moves like this. It's very clearly mechanical. And I don't get it at all. That's a door lock. Looks really weird. I think these are Torx screws. A lot of the stuff on this car takes Torx. And including when you have to change your rear light. Now that takes a Phillips head that may or may not strip like this one, but it's also a bulb. And it's really weird. These are really easy to change out, but the front bulbs, they are so difficult. And if you buy this car, I'd recommend you get a warranty. Like an extended warranty if possible. Because it's little things that are very, well, they may not break often, but when they do, and they're hard to get to, it's not fun. So, like, with the front turn signal is the most difficult thing ever. If it's in warranty, they could do it for you for free. And I would so go down that route, because doing this, like, because behind this cover is your access to your turn signal. Yeah, and there's like a cover here you have to turn. Taking that off is so difficult. One of the things to look out for on this car is if someone has turned those before, it'll be easy to turn later, but if the car's brand new, it's going to be really difficult. Oh, and here goes the door. I don't quite understand it. See, our car's not sunroof equipped, so I don't have a sunroof. And it doesn't have the spoiler either. We'll get this done soon. So that's one maintenance item to look out for, the door handles. This costs around $130, which isn't bad, but this more like in the high 200s, which doesn't make any sense to me. It's also kind of hard to fix. This one's easier to fix, if you can believe it. This one is not so easy. And next thing is I'm going to go and talk about the engine maintenance. This is more important. So, obviously, to keep your FIAT running in tip-top shape, you want to maintain it. And one of the things on this car that is a necessary maintenance item is after over time, when your car hits like the 70,000 mile mark, there's a screen. If I can hold the hood, should probably prop it up. Down here is this thing called the multi-air filter, and it is down here behind this timing chain cover. And what it does is it screens out dirty oil. If that filter is clogged, it can cause things like misfires in the engine, because you're getting dirty oil all of a sudden passing through the car, and if it's clogged, you may not be getting any oil in the car. And that's a problem, because the multi-air system runs on hydraulics, it runs on your engine oil. So very important that belt, timing belt, water pump, and serpentine belt should be changed every 5 years is 60,000 miles. So this car, we haven't had it for 5 years yet. But the car is 6.5 years old. But we've had it for 4.5 years. That should be replaced at around 60,000 miles. So, and your mechanic will likely change the water pump at the same time, which quickly increases the cost from like a $500 timing belt chain to easily $1,000 plus. So set around $1,200 for your timing chain job, because they're going to do your water pump, because it's all down there. Also, getting to the alternator is also very annoying. You have to basically move the engine and move the subframe just to get to it, and it is not, from what I've heard, not a fun job. So a lot of stuff in this car is hard to work on, just because the engine is transversely mounted this way, because the front wheel drive makes it hard to work on. Next, I am going to now talk about the intervals. What are the intervals for this car? Well, multi-air filter, there's no official interval, but like I said earlier, around 50 to 70,000 miles. Takes 5W30 full synthetic oil, which makes the oil change on this car expensive. Oil change should be around $70, no more, maybe $80. And oil changes last to around 10,000 miles, which is absolutely crazy. That is a very long interval, and I would not trust that interval. It's a big one. And the turbo cars, I think, do it at 8,000. So turbo cars are a little less. And for the turbo, I would do 5,000, because the turbos burn oil a lot. Ask any Barth owner in the world, and he'll tell you it burns a lot of oil. Also, I'd keep out for the vacuum pump and the oil sump. The oil sump's made out of the thinnest metal known to man. It is super thin and weak. And oil leaks can come out of basically one of three locations. Either out of the oil sump, which it's not even that expensive. It's around like $50, I think. $60, and it's not that bad. But the big one is the vacuum pump, which our car had leaking oil issues and burning plastic rubber smells. It's because the vacuum pump was leaking. Saturated all the hoses, and there's a smell of oil when you went up a hill. It was really bad. One of the things that I'd like to bring up, go super wide here, is that that's an expensive part. The part's around $250 to $350, and the labor is expensive too, around $250. It's hard to get there. So set around $750 to have that fixed. It's an expensive thing to get replaced. There's also PCV valve O-ring under the airbox. That's also known to leak, that tiny little thing. It is like a $5 gasket and super easy to replace. It can also be the PCV valve itself, but that doesn't only happen like a couple times out of the 300,000 maybe of these sold in the United States. These are specifically like multi-air problems, you know, with the multi-air car. The regular non-multi-air version seems to not have this problem more with the oil sump, because it doesn't really have the vacuum pump's not in the same place, and those don't leak as often. So, you know, it does pretty good. Pretty good engine. This car is rock solid. If I had to go for one, I absolutely would. I would get one of these over every other boring car in the world. I would highly go for the turbo model with the manual or the automatic. The Abarth, they make turbo automatic. Or manual automatic. The manuals are just better. The automatics are a little slow. If you're in Europe, you get the 5-speed dual logic thing. That transmission is a pile of garbage, will fall itself apart. Very hard to replace, takes a special kind of fluid. This is a 6-speed Eisen transmission, which makes it durable. It lasts a really long time. But the 5-speed manual, so much better. It really wakes this car up. Now, one last thing I'm talking about is this dual drive electric rack and pinion power steering. This is on all Fiat Panda Punto 500 models. And like the 500L, I think. And I know the Tipo for sure, and the Cubo. They have this feature. It's a dual drive rack and pinion power steering. So if I start the car, this steering, you see, is super light, like I mentioned before. And when you click the sport button, it gets super heavy. One thing that can happen is the power steering system can go out, and the way to test that is to first get it out of sport mode, or if you're in Europe, take it out of city mode, because our normal mode and their city mode are actually equivalent. So no, put it in city mode if you're on a European car, and put it in sport, or keep it off sport mode if you're in a US car, so that way the steering is super light. And then just, if one side is really heavy and the other side's super light, then you know something is wrong. And if you put it in sport or take it out of city, so by default in Europe, you start the car, it defaults to normal mode, which is our sport mode actually, which is pretty cool. Basically makes it all more worth it to keep your sport mode button pushed on the car. On the American version, to keep it pushed, it drives so much better. The steering gets heavier, so that means if one side is really heavy and the other side is a little lighter, something is wrong with the steering. Steering pump's around $85. Maybe an extra $50 to get it installed. So maybe set around $200 for the power steering pump. It's easy to fix. It's just, the location it's in isn't the best, but it's definitely easy to get out and put back in. It's just getting to it that's hard. Once you loosen up bolts, whatever, it'll come out with some wiggling. Also the oil filter, when you get the oil changed, is also in a horrible location. I think it's time I have to pop the hood again and show you. Excuse me, this is a long video. And I want to keep it long because this is going to be like an in-depth video. So if I just go back under the engine one more time, I promise, last time. See this oil filter? Where are you? Oh, there it is. It's hard to get to. You have to attack it from this angle and have like a swiveling socket to get there, and it's really difficult. And one last thing to wrap this up is, should you buy it? If you're in the market for one of these cars, you should absolutely buy this car. This car competes with like the Ford Fiesta and the Scion IQ and the Smart for 2. And, well, if you're in the UK, it competes with the Aston Martin Signet. Except that car is at a really high price tag, but it's also super small. So that's somehow a competitor. That's more of a competitor of like a 695 Aposto, I would say. This car is really cheap. So if you're in the United States, you can't buy it anymore. So you can only buy them used. 500 parts are quickly going up in price, and they're being picked up really quick right now. Same with the Prima Ediziones. Those cars are being picked up really quickly, and their price is really going up at this point. Remember, like a couple years ago, 2016 Abarths or 2013 Abarths were worth like $8,000. Now they're up into 13s. Now they're going up in value. So if you're in the market for one of these cars, or you want a good investment for to sell in the future, because these things are going up in value. Not cars like these Pops and automatics. These are not going up in value. I'm almost guaranteeing you that. But like a Prima Edizione or an Abarth, or any of the special editions, a Gucci's going to be a big one, going up in value already. This would be a good buy. And, if you find one low miles, it's good to keep as kind of a collector's car. Keep it garage kept. But if you want a car that's fun to drive, safe, reliable to an extent, easy to work on, it's cheap to run, and cheap to fill up, I would highly recommend this car. Specifically with the manual transmission. It just goes really well, and it sounds really nice, and the fuel economy numbers are incredible. Also, this car recommends you give it premium gas. So 87 is minimum, 91 recommended. This car almost demands 91. It's hard to get this thing up a hill on 87. So 91 definitely recommended. And this car overall is just really cheap to run. And it's super nice. These seats are really comfortable. And really reliable. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this kind of buyer's guide of, how's the car been doing and what things to look out for. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll have a couple more videos soon on the Fiat, like after we get the oil change and the backup light recall done. Once we get this car mechanically sorted, I will definitely make an update video again. Hope you guys enjoyed.